this is a broken market, and if we fix it in the long run, we're going to be great. In the long run, we're going to be more than great. In the long run, we're going to be fantastic. But we've got to, it's going to take a long run to get there, and we can't take short-term gains. We have to look at the big picture. So I'd say, I think if you do structure IPOs in a way that you can show investors that in the long run there will be that uptick, and investor education needs to change, and I think it starts in business schools, to tell you the truth, because business schools are the investors of the future. And one of the things I think that a lot of evidence is coming out is that the shift that American business schools had in the 1980s towards a different financial approach, towards short-term gains, towards market volatility and the benefits of market volatility, have really sort of corrupted the markets right now, because we're seeing all of those business educated kids now are running these markets, and we've seen how that can hurt. I think we're going to see a transition in that one. So I would say public markets in the long run are not necessarily a bad thing. They could be a good thing. But mostly acquisition, and also we do a lot of creative bits. Like I said, we kind of pride ourselves on it. So we have a lot of what we call self-liquidization, which means that our companies can buy us out, and in some cases are required to buy us out. So 7 years down the road, if the company hasn't listed on a public market in the US, what I would do is I would have registration rights, which means I'm going to force you to put your shares, put my shares, and a lot of shares onto some kind of public market where I can sell them. I'm going to force you to do it as a company that can jeopardize your social mission seriously. So instead of doing that, what we do is we come in and say redemption rights. After 7 years, 5 years, depends on the company, we're going to force you to start buying back our shares. When a company buys back your shares, you retire those shares. So the current shareholders, proportion of the company just grows. So all of those existing shareholders that remain actually add value. That's usually going to be the founders and the employees. So that's a benefit. How do you do that? How do you sell back? Mostly it's done, you evaluate the company at that point. So 5 years from now, we evaluate the company when we invest. We say this is what the company's worth. The company today is worth $1 million, and we're buying 1 million shares at $1 a pop, right? So that's, or they're selling $1 million shares at $1 pop. So that's kind of the basic of it, right? And we reevaluate the company in 5 years, and we say now this company's worth $10 million, and then we're going to take that gain on that, right? It's not going to be 10 times a gain, because as you sell shares, you get diluted, but it's going to be a good gain, and that's one. And we do that through redemption over a period of time. So it's redemption over 3 years, redemption over 4 years, and that means that every year the company buys back a third or 25% of our shares, and they do that for 3 years until we have our cash back. So that's known. A final one that we're actually looking into right now, and we're talking to a lot of other big investors about, is creating an ESOP buyout pool. And ESOP are employee stock option plans. Stock option plans are a great example of this is how REI is owned by the employees, right? So when you want to sell a company to the employees, it's going to take those employees like 20 years to buy the company. And so as an investor like us, we can't do that because that IRR would be too long. But for a lender, a long horizon is a good thing. So what happens is someone comes in, lends the money to the company, and guarantees and owns those stocks. Essentially, they escrow those stocks, and then they give us our money up front. So that's another one that we're actually looking at is sort of this ESOP buyout model, and that would probably be coming from DFIs and large foundations. Acquisition is still probably going to be the main lane. These guys well.
I'm not one of my students.
Iris and Gears. Yeah, we do subscribe to most of. We don't do Iris right now. We're slowly integrating into it. Gears is on the company level, and companies can opt in or not. There's a cost, so it can be kind of hard for startups. It's really tough to ask these guys to go and start counting chickens every time. It's really tough because they're so focused on the business itself. So we have a little bit of a different approach. Mostly what we look at is the types of things that we're investing in. So if we look at Solar Now is a company that's in Uganda that puts solar home systems on houses. So they've provided lighting to 4,000 households already. So we look at that and I'm kind of saying, we've provided lighting to 4,000 households. Multiply that by the people in the house, the average is 5. you can get is 20,000 people have lighting, in a large part by our company. Now you can go and extrapolate from that all the good things that come with household lighting. And you can say that's our impact. And so we do that, and we kind of tell that story. But that's a big part about it, is kind of started to tell that story. FrogTech, one of our companies, does a point-of-sale device for merchants in Mexico and Colombia, and Latin America. And it's a great little thing because it helps small shopkeepers manage their businesses much better. We've actually shown, they've done a study that shows that shopkeepers who use their system improve profit margins by 33%. So that's a significant enhancement to the shopkeeper's lives, and we look at that 33% and say, okay, let's extrapolate from that. What would be that impact? We don't go back and ask them to go and say, okay, can you see the gains in the household? Can you see, are the kids more educated? Do a survey of all your users, because putting that burden on a for-profit business at this stage is way too much. They can't handle it. So we try to be very light touch. It's actually a big issue in the industry right now, is how do you go and balance that out of saying, okay, these are companies, they're startups, they need to grow fast, but they also need to measure metrics, which can be really cumbersome and expensive. Some funds are doing it where I'll give you the investment and I'll use philanthropic capital to support you measuring metrics. We don't have philanthropic capital, we're actually a for-profit fund, so we don't really put that into that side of it. We just focus on, is this a company that's going to improve, if it works and it sells its product and it does it at a great extent, will it make that solution better? Will that solution make the world a better place? And we're very thesis driven, and our research is very thesis oriented. In other words, what problems are we trying to solve? And let's find the innovations and the enterprises that are solving that problem best, and let's invest in them and help them grow. So that's the way we really kind of focus on it. It's unique. Not every fund's going to be able to do that, and particularly when you raise institutional money, where they're going to really want to say, I need a survey that says that you improved the lives of this many people, this many kids got educated, this many babies improved their weight, all that kind of stuff, which is it's really tough for a for-profit fund.
Would you ever consider using any debt instruments in these companies, or not really distribute?
Yeah, absolutely. Working capital, whether you do it one way or the other, it ends up being something like a debt instrument. We use accounts receivable purchasing, which is technically not a debt instrument, it's an asset purchase, but if you look at it on paper, it is pretty much a debt instrument. And we also lend money from time to time to companies, usually through someone else, but yeah, we do. We've actually carved out of our $20 million fund, when we redid our fund, we carved out $5 million strictly for what we call growth capital, but largely that's debt, quasi-debt, mezzanine financing. It's so badly needed. Any other questions?
I was curious, Miguel, about, you mentioned the 350 a year ago and 300 this year.
Mm-hmm.
Do they find you, or do you find them? How do you get the deal flow to that level? That's a stunning level for a firm your size.
Well, it comes from everywhere, and it gets better every year from some extent. I would say that the 350, we could have even more this year if it wasn't that we screen out automatically a lot, partly through our application process on the web, where if you don't meet certain criteria, we don't even see the web, we don't even see the application. So we could get even more. A lot of it is presentations. We travel a lot. I think this year, even though I have a young baby, I was on the road for over 150 days. So if you look at that, and that's cutting back. Like, I'm not taking trips. So that's we do get out there and try to find our way in front of people all the time. Christina, who works with me now, is also on the road almost as much as I am these days. So we'll do that in big spurts. We'll go out and do a lot of conferences, presentations, try to find people, try to get our name out there. Our website gets a lot of hits these days. In part, we push a lot of research to our website and blogs, etc., which gets people talking about it. We use social media. The universities, we have great relationships with universities. We have office in Nairobi that pushes a lot of people because there's not a lot of investors in Nairobi. And Legacy Investments, our entrepreneurs are out there even more than we are. They're always at conferences, at events, they're talking to other entrepreneurs, they're part of accelerator programs, whatever it is, and they come back and usually tell people, anybody that's looking for capital, to come talk to us because we have a great relationship with them.
What would your advice be to two students? One that is kind of interested, just starting out, and one who's convinced that they want to do impact investing. What kind of advice would you have for each?
Well, I think if you're just starting out and you're just trying to get interested in it, the biggest thing I would do is try to go get an internship somewhere to see what the work is really like. And for both of you, I would say, for both students, I would say measure your income really tightly. So this is not a business where you're going to go out right now and get the highest paying job. The one thing about impact investing right now is it's still largely based on government funds, foundation money, and small investment shops like ours. And so people come in and it's a lot about passion and being excited about working. But I can tell you from experience and from I've seen from a lot of my friends and people I know, once your lifestyle gets to a certain level, it's really tough to step it back down. It's really tough to go back and say, I'm giving up this, this six-figure job to go and start to travel around the world and fly to cheap seats and stay at crappy B&Bs and do all of these kind of things because this is what I'm passionate about. Social entrepreneurship, impact investing, on account, these are passion businesses. You've got to love doing this. We work way harder than we get paid for. We take a tremendous amount of sacrifices, and like I said, just the amount of time we travel, where we're going. Two of our employees were mugged, one at gunpoint at 1 p.m. in the afternoon in front of her home in Nairobi. We've lost loved ones, actually, in particular in the Westgate terrorist attack in Nairobi recently. So this is an industry where it's like the hang-ups to not do this they're everywhere. I mean, it's so much easier to go take a different route, I think. So if you want to get into this field, do it because you're actually passionate about it. Do it because you actually believe in it, and not because it's something that you think just kind of came along and hey, let's go try this. I think you'd be disappointed. One of the big things I'd say about this, just because you think you're helping somebody doesn't mean they won't slap your hand, and they will let you down a million times. So if you don't think that you're actually out there doing something for the greater good, if you don't really believe in your gut, you're going to turn away from this so quick. You'll become cynical and move on. So really, it's about, like I said, it's really about having that passion and that commitment in the long run. And if you've got that, then obviously there's no better way. You can make money. You can do it doing something that you sleep well at night. You can go help people. It's an exciting space. It's going to grow, and you're at the cusp of it right now. You're at the beginning of something really big. So I'd encourage everyone to do it, but just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons.
So on behalf of Professor Shaughnessy and the Social Enterprise Institute, we'd like to thank you for coming. We look forward to sending a co-op to Investor Development and look forward to tracking your progress and impact in the future.
Thank you. Thanks for the reminder. Like I said, just definitely look at our blog, follow us on Twitter, do that kind of stuff. We actually do a lot of research, and so you can kind of follow our activities there. But thanks everyone. Have a good night.